Hello. I hope you're having a great start to the year. At the start of this week or the start of last week, I posted out a sample video using my Lumix S5 Mark II with the kit lens attached to it. I had a few messages come through saying, that they enjoyed the images, they enjoyed the footage, and some were saying, like, asking questions on how I kind of went about color grading it, or how I got the same look, or people have the same kind of lens but they weren't getting the same look. So I thought, let me just kind of break down what I've been doing recently to kind of slow down or go for more of a quiet, slow style, calm vlog style that I've been doing, where I have these voiceovers over the top, and what I've been doing particularly with my camera work and the color grade kind of thing in order to get the finished article. I can't shake the feeling that this year is going to be something special, something productive. And it's not just me, I can sense it in other people as well. I can see it on their social media. Everyone's really optimistic about this year. So I thought, you know what, as I always do, let me ask ChatGPT why it thinks people are feeling so optimistic about 2026. And honestly, it summed it up pretty well. So first things first, I start off with the kit lens. If you haven't seen the Lumix kit lens, or if you've boycotted it altogether, it's the 20 to 60 millimeter kit lens. It's not the one I have on here, 1 minute. It's this particular lens here. Now, this is the lens that you'll get if you got an S5 series, or if you got, I think so the S1s, they come with these as well. If you got an S9, you're gonna get the little smaller ones. But this is the particular one I got with my camera, and I really do swear by it. I use this lens so often. I mean, I mix between 3 main lenses, possibly 4 now and then. So I go for a vintage lens, which is a Carl Zeiss lens. I go for this for my kind of everyday use. I go for a Sigma 24mm f1.4, and I go for a cinema lens, which is a 25 millimeter 7 Artisans Vision, I believe it's called. I just like knocking between all those different characteristics. For instance, right now I'm on a Sigma, and it's kind of giving me that thrown out background, which I enjoy, because then I can have a messy room like this but still be able to make videos for you guys. But let's dive in. So the first thing is I have this attached to my camera, and then I go out shooting. But I have 2 different distinctive things that I possibly do on this particular lens, which maybe you're not doing, and that might be one of the biggest deciding factors of why I get different footage to you guys. First of all, I never have the lens nude. As in, not the lens hood, but the glass on the front here, if you'll show that for yourselves. Right now, I would class that as being nude right now, okay? What I will normally pop on there is 2 types of filtration. Mostly would be just the 2. Sometimes I have 3, but when I'm going out, I mostly just have the 2. I'll show you which ones those are now. One of these filters is an ND filter. You would have heard about it before, a variable ND filter. So as we turn this around here, you should see it go darker and lighter. This is not the particular one I use on my camera anymore. This is an older one. I think it's a KNF Concept one, really good, but I've been using the Nisi filters recently just because I feel like it works really well actually with V-Log footage, because V-Log seems to have kind of a weird magenta push to it. We'll talk about that in the later part of this video, but I feel like these Nisi filters cool it down just a little bit to give the white balance on skin tones a nicer look to it. But I'm using that on my camera right now. If I'm not using that variable ND filter, which I always will be, sorry, when I have that one on, before it I will have another filter, and that's one of these. If you can see that there. How do I get this to focus? Now this is a bloom filter. This one is particularly from a company called Moment, and they make this cine bloom. But you can find these bloom filters absolutely everywhere. The Moment one's really nice. I also use some others. I've got one here. This is from KNF Concept, and this is a black diffusion 1/8 filter. And what that will do is just start to soften the image up just a little bit, give it more of a dreamy look. So if I put that over here, now if you look at the background, can you see how it just softens up the highlights just a tad? And if I pop this one on, you might see it there again. The highlights and the skin tones, if you just look at those, they do change a little bit. And then I'm just gonna grab the one from Moment. If you look at that one now, it's gonna lean over here. It's very, very subtle what happens. I feel like with the Moment one, you get more of an effect. But essentially what that's doing is it will soften the image just a little bit. It'll take that digital edge off the footage, and that gives it more of a filmic look. Also, having an ND filter on here, a variable ND, is going to allow us to have full control of the background blur. So if I was to turn this back down, we can control the light of it. We turn it back up. We can shoot basically in the daytime and put these pair of sunglasses on there. So those are the two filtrations that I use on my kit lens to kind of get it a better image out of the park, right? The next step is kind of a method more so than anything else. I try to shoot as wide open as possible when I can, so it gives a bit more depth of field to that kit lens, because this kit lens is a variable aperture. We're going from a 3.5 to a 5.6. So obviously, if I can try and keep it anywhere down to the f4 mark, if I can, obviously when I zoom in, it's going to change. But if I keep it around the f4, pop an ND filter on there, it gives me a bit more of a look that's different to everyone else that maybe has to shoot f11 out in the daytime. Do you know what I mean? And then of course, whenever I'm shooting footage, I will be shooting in V-Log. We'll talk about that in a moment though. First, I just want to talk about maybe the feel of the video that you've been seeing. Because a lot of people will go out and they'll shoot handheld, especially with the Lumix cameras, because Lumix cameras can really stabilize incredibly, you know what I mean? But everyone seems to have this same kind of floaty look. I'm into it, but there's just something about a static look for myself that just looks a little bit nicer. Sometimes I refer to the example of, you see, say a Disney film, for instance. A Disney film will jump between cuts and it's quite fast paced, and it's playing on this new mentality of being fast responsiveness. You know what I mean? When it comes to the way we take things in, like short attention spans. And then you can have a tripod, for instance, which is a bit more like a Studio Ghibli. If you've ever watched one of those movies, you kind of sit in the scene and you're just drawn in. It's like you're observing from a distance the environment that the characters are living in. So there is a difference between handheld. It's got that slight little wobble to it, and that changes the whole perspective your mind is seeing the scene at. Whereas on a tripod, it really sits very, very still. It's like you're looking at a photograph and the lives are just moving inside of it. So I would advise you, if you are using, I don't know if you can, heading out and doing these kind of B-rolls, these slow vlog videos of real life, real world environments, pop it on a tripod, get some filtration on the lens. Finally, obviously we want to be shooting in the highest dynamic range possible to get the best out of the lens. Obviously, as well as the codec and the resolution, but let's not dive into that too much. Just know that I was shooting in 6K for the video footage that you saw in the samples. And also I was shooting 10-bit color, all that, you know, all the jazz. Let's just imagine the highest resolution that you can get out the camera. I was shooting that in, but I was also shooting in V-Log. I'm never going to be shooting in the standard, just because I don't like how much that really does crush the colors. And I think obviously if you've purchased a camera like this, then surely you're going to be diving into video a little bit deeper. So you want to be shooting on V-Log, for instance. I kind of have cooked up my own special V-Log conversion LUT. It's not a LUT that gives you any kind of special film cinematic look at the end, but what it will do is it will transform the V-Log into a Rec 709 that doesn't have the harshness of the Lumix one or the dullness of the Lumix one. You probably notice sometimes when you put your footage onto the computer, it's all in V-Log. And then you go and grab the Rec 709 file from Lumix and you pop it onto your footage, and then it just still kind of looks flat. And then obviously you have to add contrast to it, you have to add more saturation to it, you have to control the mid-range and everything, right? And then you get it starting to look really, really nice. My issue is, for some reason, on my skin tone and on my wife's skin tone, the Lumix V-Log original LUT just does not sit right. And I have to do so much correction to get both of our skin tones to look good. For me, I feel like there's always huge amounts of like pink and purples around my nose area, and my lips just start to go a weird color. It really does weirdly lean into the saturation magenta tones. Whereas the conversion LUTs that I've created, they're mimicked after ARRI, Alexa, and RED. So they're a bit more pleasing when it comes to skin tones. I'm gonna update, by the time you see this video, I'm gonna update my store, because that's where I'll keep them online. I'm gonna update it with 2 new versions actually. So you get a pack. Inside this pack, there's, without plugging, there's LUTs in there for other cameras as well, but Lumix is the main one that I've converted it for. There's some in there for S-Log, There's some in there for Canon, Blackmagic, I believe, also the iPhone and the Samsung. But ideally, Lumix V-Log users, this is kind of your LUT, if that makes sense. I've put 3 versions out. Previously I had one singular version and it did really well. People really liked it. It's the one that I used for multiple years since I had the S5, the original one. But now I've made 2 more versions, and what those versions do is they just variate the skin tones just a little bit more, and they variate the tones and the greens and stuff like that. So yeah, if that's interesting to you, then click it and head over to the store and check that one out. But the whole world looks different with this thing, and I think that's possibly one of the biggest things that maybe you might have picked up on when you was watching those sample videos. You may have watched it and thinking, there's just something about this that looks a bit different. Some people will perceive that as being better. Some people will perceive it as just looking different. But yeah, it's just a conversion LUT that changes that. That seems like a very long-winded way to say that I slap some filters on my lens, I use a tripod, and I use a different LUT to you. But anyway, you asked, so I thought I'll fulfill with a video. I hope this helps, and we'll get back to our nice, calming voiceover videos for the next one. All right, peace and love. Catch you soon.